What makes Alton Towers roller coaster lineup so elite compared to any other theme park in the UK? Welcome back to another Coaster Crazy video, and I hope you're going to enjoy this video. And if you do, feel free to drop a like and sub. But anyway, enough of that. Let's get on to the point of the video of why is Alton Towers roller coaster lineup so good. Well, you might be thinking, well, the POVs, they don't look that good, they look alright, but when you're actually there on them, first of all, they feel a lot quicker, and obviously a lot more intense, because lying on your bed doesn't quite give you the same feeling. So, to give my reasons for this, which could be controversial, might not be, depends what you think, I'm going to go through every ride and say why I think they are so good. And just as a reference point, I will not be including 13, as I think it's just mediocre. The drop track's fun, but in my opinion, I don't rate it very highly. So we'll just remove 13 from the equation and move on to the first coaster, which is Oblivion. So it was marketed as the world's first vertical drop roller coaster, which I think we all know. But we also all know it wasn't actually the world's first vertical drop. It was only actually 87.5 degrees. But why do I think it's so good? First of all, not being quite vertical, it makes the drop incomparable to any other dive coaster, and I don't know why, but it just does. And also, falling into the fog, which makes it so when you're riding for the first time, and even any time, you still can't see what you're going into, which for me just makes it even more exciting. And finally, it's the length of drop that's underneath the ground, because you think, oh yeah, what, a 60-something foot drop above the ground? Oh, it's not going to be that quick. And then you realise 2/3 of it's underground, and you get that sense of speed that you do not expect to get when you're about to go into the drop. I also think the marketing and advertising and theming for the ride is absolutely fantastic, and it doesn't get a whole lot better. And now I'm going to move on to the next ride, which is also an X sector, the Smiler. Now, a lot of people don't rate the Smiler because it can be quite rough, and 2015 did not give it a good rep, so I know a lot of people aren't too fond of the Smiler. But I love it. There's something about the illusion of the 14 inversions that I just love. So, why do I think it's so good? First of all, the theming. It's so amazing. In the middle, you've got the big Smiler machine thing, which, when you're walking up to it, just instills a fear. And obviously, we all hate the music, but it does do a very good job at making us all scared, I think. I'm quite fair to agree, especially when riding it for the first time. And also the unexpected elements. So the first inversion after dropping out the tunnel. And I think just finally, the fact that it is relentlessly intense. There isn't a dull moment on that ride. And you're just going to be like, It's such a fun ride, and you just feel like you're gasping for breath the whole time. And moreover on that, the vertical lift hill, it's something that you can see on quite a few rides in the UK, but there aren't many that have such a tall vertical lift hill, and I just think that it's such a cool element to have. But that's enough of Smiler. So, and I want to move on to probably everyone's least favourite ride in the park, Rita. Now, I've said this in previous videos and I'll say it again. I quite like Rita. And yes, it's rough. Yes, the restraints stink. And yes, it's a very short ride. But the launch is punchy. The airtime hills are brilliant. The first turn is so forceful. And it just gets me laughing unbelievably every time. I don't know why. I think it might just be the punch of it. But to me, Rita's just a really fun ride, and I rate it quite highly compared to a lot of others. Like, don't kill me in the comments, but I think I'd rate it over Wickman. But I'm not much of a Wickman fan. And speaking of not being much of a Wickman fan, we'll move on to that. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but I still do quite like it. Obviously, the theming is really, really good, which makes it one of the elites in Alton Towers. And also the super fast pacing of the ride. My only criticism of it is the fact that it hasn't really got a good second half. The first half is so intense, so whippy, but the second half's quite relaxed. It's a bit underwhelming, especially after the second time riding it. Now, I've been to Alton Towers quite a few times over the years now, and Wickman, it just doesn't hit it fully. But I know a lot of people rate it very highly, and I respect that opinion, because it is a very good ride. So I do still believe it's one of the elites, and it does offer some airtime, and obviously quite intense laterals on that, about 190 degree turn that's on banks. And now, I want to move on to Forbidden Valley. Obviously, Nemesis is reopening next year, same ride, new paint scheme, nothing special. But from the 2 rides I got on it last year when I went, oh my god, I love this ride to bits. It is such a great ride. It's intense, whippy, forceful, and everything amazing. The pacing is so good. Anyone who doesn't like Nemesis, I don't know what to say. So I've just had a bit of a love rant about it there. But yeah, Nemesis, it's just such a fun ride, and I can't wait for its reopening to get back onto it. It's gonna be such a good year next year. And I'm gonna move on to the other ride that's elite in Forbidden Valley, is in Galactica. Now, a lot of people don't like it because it's quite short and not too intense, but I think the first iteration of a pretzel loop, which is like on its side, I really like that. It's also quite nice pacing, and it's a change from all the other rides that feel like they're trying to kill you, which I know some people don't like because they like the force and the intensity of having your neck ripped off and having your head blasted in, maybe not your head, but just feeling like you're on the edge. But I quite like the gracefulness of it and how different it is to most other rides at Alton. And finally, I'm going to move on to an Alton Towers roller coaster that isn't original. It's in Spinball Wizard, obviously just a classic spinning coaster. Nothing especially special, but there's just something really fun about it. It's fast, it's forceful as well, and it spins. And there's just a part of me that absolutely adores the spinning element. So yeah, that wraps up my reasons for why Alton Towers coasters are so elite. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the support again. My last video is doing brilliantly, and I just want to thank you all for that. Have a lovely day. Please like and subscribe.